Whichever one, Chris here from MTR Network, and I'm back with another movie review. I know it's been a while. It's been almost like a month since I've actually done a video right here in front of the camera. But as you can see, had to change locations. I am in the process of trying to move. So the house and the studio just isn't the place for me right now. So I'll be changing around here for the next few months. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be settled back into the studio and back with a normal background, back with the normal stuff, and really excited for that. But it means that won't get as many videos from me as while I do this. So, but right here, doing another video review. Like I said, we've had all our San Diego Comic-Con stuff coming out, but this is a video review, and we're here to review Fox's only X-Men film coming out in 2018, since they've delayed New Mutants, which is never coming out. I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says, that movie's not coming out. And they've also delayed X-Men Dark Phoenix. It's almost like they're trying to run out the clock until Disney takes over. I know that's not going to happen. They got to at least release Dark Phoenix, but New Mutants, that's not happening. But Darkest Minds, which is, when I saw this trailer, it just blew my mind that it's literally the idea of the X-Men. You know, you have these kids with superpowers who band together to fight against the government that is literally trying to control them and kill them and everything. This is the X-Men, guys. It's literally the X-Men. But here's the thing. I didn't really care. Like, I didn't care that it was obviously yanking for the most part. We'll get into what did bother me. Didn't care that they were mostly yanking from the X-Men because, honestly, this is what Fox should have been, the concept that Fox should have been using with their X-Men films. The idea that the greatest enemy of the X-Men are actually the humans. They're the adults. In this film, that's basically what it is. You have, you know, a disease that killed off 90% of the world's children. The last 10% that survived developed these powers. They put them into different color categories, like green are super smart, blue have telekinetic powers, yellow have can control electricity, red are super destructive, fire, and orange have telepathy. And the film stars Amanda Steinberg. She plays Ruby, who figures out that she has these powers. She accidentally erases herself from her parents' memory. She's sent to one of these camps when she's a really young girl, but then she uses her powers to convince the doctor there that she is a green and smart and not an orange, and isn't killed on the spot. Again, I like the concept that this was going for with the X-Men. It's the thing that, you know, the X-Men should have been doing. The idea that, again, even down to the part that at one point you have the President of the United States is trying to control his son and say his son is cured. They're trying to find a cure. They're locking these kids up. They're treating them badly in the detention center. So that kind of gets with the idea of what Trump is doing with locking kids, separating kids from their parents. The idea that kind of almost, I like the idea of, like, even with the concept of X-Men, your powers manifest in adolescence, and so you have a lot of these kids during these these powers from the parents. It's not like parents, the adults aren't the ones that manifest their powers at first. It's the kids. And the kids, you have parents that are then afraid of their kids, lock their kids up, turn on their kids. I mean, you have that great scene in, I think it's X2 with Bobby, where his parents look at him and it's like, well, have you tried not being a mutant? So it's like, it's very clearly an allegory for civil rights and marginalized people in this country. Is why I'm an X-Men mark, why I like X-Men, and it's actually one of, honestly, I can see why people will be really, really excited or be interested in seeing this film, because it's exactly what we've been wanting to get with the X-Men films. Like, the X-Men films have started becoming more mutant versus mutant, and they just seem to have gotten away from the idea of that's the core concept. But look, guys, I told you don't trust these film adaptations based off of young adult books because, well, they're never good. And this is no different, all right? Like I said, I am okay with them using the X-Men concept. The problem I have is the book I think her name was Alexandra Bracken, and she wrote this book in 2012. I don't know if anybody told her that she's literally stealing from the X-Men with every idea she has in this book. But she stole from the X-Men and everything she did in this book. And like, the only interesting parts are stuff that literally come from X-Men or X-Men related live action properties, which I'll get into later. Everything else sucks. Anytime she tries to stray away or this, she didn't direct it. I can't remember the name of the director here, but again, it doesn't matter. This is what happens with these young adult novels. They're never original. They always yank for things that have been there before. The book was written in 2012, and literally, I'm like, there's no way you did not know this was the X-Men, and this is what this stuff is pulled for. Let me go through some of the things here. Ruby is saved from the concentration camp by this woman named Kate. I think she's played by Mandy Moore, and Kate represents, she doesn't have power, she's an adult, but she represents the League, clearly the X-Men, who is trying to rescue these kids and then train them so they can fight back against the government. First problem with that, you end up getting, she also then meets up this group of, I think, 3 other young kids. Liam, who is a blue telekinetic power. Zhu, who is a young Asian girl who doesn't speak, but actually has electricity power, so she's a yellow, which, by the way, Fox, I thought we got past understanding that you can't do that kind of stuff with the Power Rangers. Don't make the yellow character, the yellow Power Ranger, the Asian chick or the black, like, I thought we got around that. Don't do that. Anyway, and then Chubbs Charles, who is blue. I know, Charles. It's not even original. He was a green who was really, really smart. So Ruby ends up meeting this group, and so what you have here is you have this power struggle between this group of kids who Liam is basically their leader, who helps rescue other kids, and is trying to find this utopian society of other kids run by, I think they call it the Slip Kid, who has created this utopian, this group of places where kids can come and learn how to use their powers, and they can have their community away from the adults and not feel like they're being persecuted. And if that sounds familiar, it's because Fox did this very, very thing last year in Logan. Laura meets up with this other group of kids who are trying to find their own society of X-Men in like Canada somewhere, and they all band together and they're all and they're pursued by bounty hunters. They're pursued by people that want to kill them. They've been experimented on by the government, which literally happens in this film too. Yeah, all that stuff came from Logan. The idea that you have Liam who wants to, just have the kids gather together, rescue them, and then kind of live a normal life, go somewhere where they can kind of live and not be persecuted, versus a group like the League who wants them to fight back and hurt the people that are controlling them and things like that. If that sounds familiar, that's because Fox is doing that every fall with The Gifted. Even down to the idea that the government is brainwashing and taking some of the most powerful mutants. In this case, in the movie, they're not called mutants, but the Reds, taking them and using them to hunt down and control and destroy or control the other the free powered kids. That's literally The Gifted. That's the Hounds and from The Gifted. Like, that is what's happening here. Like, I know what you're saying. Well, Chris, so this book was written in 2012. Maybe somehow Alexandra didn't know that was happening. At one point in the film, Ruby uses her power, so she has the power of basically telepathy, and she can give suggestions and things like that. At one point, she tells one of the bounty hunters that has tracked them down to walk into the woods and just keep walking. Doesn't matter if she gets hungry or tired or thirsty, just to keep walking, just keep walking. Now, I know this movie sucked, but Wolverine Origins did that with Stryker at the end of that movie, where he is told basically to just keep walking and not stop. That movie came out in 2009. Everything in this film is yanked from something else to the point that it is absolutely pathetic. I'm sorry. Like, what the hell? There is the only original things in this movie are really nothing. Liam obviously falls for Liam and Ruby obviously fall for each other, and so they're almost like a Jean and Scott relationship, even though the power's not there. They get a really cartoonish villain. Like, I swear to God, they get I can't remember his Patrick Gibson, I think it's his name. They cast him, and I swear to God, the only reason why they cast him is because he looks like Brock Turner, and they basically make the villain Brock Turner, rapey ass Brock Turner with superpowers, which I'll be honest is kind of creepy. But then they do this thing where he pops his collar in 2018, so he looks like a rich preppy kid who pops his collar, and I'm like, well, you obviously can't trust him because, like, you don't trust anybody who pops a collar in 2018. I mean, he's clearly a villain, like he's literally, like, at one point he does try to rape Ruby. Like, I'm not gonna get, he tries to rape her, and I'm like, he's Brock Turner. He's literally Brock Turner. Like, we've done this, we know this. Like, it. So even the villain, which isn't really pulled from X-Men, is still yanked from somebody else because it's literally based off of a real person in Brock Turner. I mean, it's just, it is unbelievably, it's unbelievable how much this movie yanks from other things. But again, you know what? If it was good, I wouldn't care because, again, Fox has not done the X-Men properties right, so I would kind of let that one slide. Problem is, there are other problems with this film. Amanda Steinberg, again, she's probably the best actor in this film. When it comes to doing things, it's not like they're given all to do because it's based off a young adult novel, so obviously all the lines are cheesy and bad. The problem is, so I believe they show her younger self at one point. The beginning of the film opens with her younger self. I think she's played by, I think that the actress's name is Lydia Jewett. She played in, I think she's the one that played the young Taraji P. Henson in Hidden Figures. I think that she's the one that played that character. When the film, she's obviously a dark-skinned young black girl. Her two parents in this film, young rich two parents, are two dark-skinned black people. Amanda Steinberg is obviously not a dark-skinned black woman or black girl. She has two mixed people. Her father's obviously white, and we know this. Is very, very clear. And again, I don't think it would normally bother me if it wasn't just such a stark, like, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't look this up and care. But it's such a stark difference when you see young Ruby, who is clearly dark-skinned, and then they jump 6 years later, and it's almost like one of her superpowers also causes her to lose pigmentation in her skin. You're just like, huh, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Like, I swear to God, at this point, it's almost like Fox has this. It's like their natural enemy and their arch nemesis is a dark-skinned black woman with superpowers, because they just will not do that. I mean, ask Alexandria Shipp playing Storm, and what the hell are you guys doing? Like, how did you guys look at what Marvel Studios did with Black Panther and all that dark-skinned blackness and sit there and go, nah, we're not going to do that. We want our lighter. I mean, it's not like you're pushing for. It's not like Steinberg is gonna be like she sees like the draw here, and it's also not like, this movie is being promoted like anything. It's not being promoted at all, so it's not gonna work. Which leads me to the biggest problem with this film. So, movies based off of young adult novels follow this formula. And the first of all, they're always written as if they're gonna be a series. Like, they're always written. The first film is always written as if they know for a fact they're going to get more movies. So the film opens up with this whole larger world. Usually told, not shown, of what's happening in the larger world, which is the first problem. With a movie, you should show, not tell. And so you have this larger world that's kind of been constructed. The main character is always almost ignorant about what's going on. There are times in this film where Ruby is basically like, what do you mean? I just want to go home. But you can't go home. Your parents don't remember you. And your parents actually are the ones that called the cops on you because they didn't remember you, and everybody's scared of kids. So you can't go home. So you always have this idea where the lead character is almost stupid. But at the same time, they're also always necessary, right? Like, think about every young adult film, novel you've read or that you've seen a movie based off of. Every single time, the lead character is dumb and doesn't understand the world and what's going on around them. But they're also somehow, also at the same time, the most important and most powerful. Katniss was the same way. Everybody else around her knew what was going on, but Katniss was so naive and didn't know anything. You had the Maze Runner, Divergent. All these films are absolutely the same. It's never like in this case. In this case, you would think that it would be Liam would be the lead character because he's the one that's been breaking kids out and leading them and trying to get them places. But no. It's the film doesn't follow Liam, or they don't reverse the roles. So you still have because I do like the diversity in this film. You have two black characters and Ruby and Charles. You have an Asian character and Zoo, even though she doesn't speak, and then you have just one white character. You could have changed the races around and made the Liam character Ruby, made her a little bit smart, made her like it's like they have to start them off dumb because I know by the end of the series she becomes a leader then, and it's just like it's not even an original idea. But anyway, they never explain it. Going back to the problems with the first films, they never explain anything, and they never do. They never explain anything up front. They never really do. They leave a lot of things unresolved. And then the film always, because they think that they're going to get 3 to 4 more movies, the film always ends with a cliffhanger. And when I say a cliffhanger, I don't mean like an Infinity War cliffhanger where you did 10 years of setup beforehand, and then when you do Infinity War, and you already know for a fact that Infinity War 2, the next Avengers film, Avengers 4, has already been shot and filmed. No. I mean the fact that they don't resolve anything. And this is my biggest problem with these films based off of young adult novels is they're written with the idea that book 1 is just really just part 1, and so nobody gets any kind of resolution. None of the characters get an arc. It's like the movie ends around halfway through a character arc. And I'm sorry, that makes it a bad story and that makes it a bad movie. You cannot do that. There are things that happen in this film where nobody kind of grows, nobody gets a chance to. Nobody gets, like, I don't want to get into spoilers, but just the way this film ended, it was like the biggest fuck you to me because I'm like, wait a minute, no, that's not how, you can't end a film like that. You have to have some resolution and then you go on to the next story. That's not what happens here. It's just like, things just happen and it's, oh, well, we're going to draw a line here and cut it off here. It's like, well, you haven't really had your climax of a movie yet. You really haven't resolved anything at all. Like, literally, the end of this film is a montage of all the things they didn't resolve, which is literally every storyline and every plot. What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? Not to mention, because they're always so predictable, I know exactly how this book series ends. If I read it, I could tell you right now exactly how it ends. And if I can tell your story and how it ends, and you wrote 4 books off of it, it can't be a good book and it can't be a good story. I just, no, it can't be. If I had to give this rating, I'd give it a 5 out of 10 at best. And I'm only giving it a 5 because, again, it's the only X-Men film coming out this year. And I think the early concept of the film, like the first 15 minutes of this film, me going, yes, okay, this is the X-Men. I fucked with it. I fucked with this. And then they started, like, talking and doing things and interacting, and it became stupid, and it became like every other young adult film that comes out here, like Iron Number 4, Divergent. And if you think that people are like, well, they make enough money, again, this film, only got, I think it was like $34 million as its budget, so obviously it could make that money back. It's got a lot of stiff competition this week, so like even with the Maze Runner film, they usually release those early in the year when nothing comes out so they can make their money back. This is getting released on this against the second weekend of Mission Impossible Fallout, the Christopher Robinson movie, which is good, and a bunch of other stuff that's out here. I mean, shit, even Teen Titans Go, which got really great reviews. It has stiff competition. So I don't know if it's going to make that money back. And then Fox isn't promoting it. It's their only X-Men film this year, and they're not really promoting it. So even the press screener, we had a press screener. They didn't even open up to other people, to the other audiences to try to get word of mouth. It's just, I just don't see how they make 3 or 4 more movies based off of this. I just don't see it. So like, what's the point? What's the point of going to see something that might never ever happen again? Like, at least the Divergent movies, like, did they ever finish the Divergent series? Because I know at one point they were like, well, we're just going to do a TV movie. And Shailene Woodley was like, I'm not doing TV. Fuck that. So what's the point of getting invested in something that's not even gonna fit? I mean, it's not even good, but then it might not even finish. Like, what's the fucking point? So it's again 5 out of 10. I mean, if you want to go see this shit, I mean, I'm not surprised by this rating. I'm not surprised this movie was trash. I am surprised that it literally had nothing. Like, I'm just always amazed by these young adult authors who think that they've created something so special and so great, and I'm like, you literally jacked from Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Chris Claremont. Like, this is the X-Men. That's you've created the New Mutants comic. Like, that's what you've done. You literally have done nothing unique. There's nothing like interesting about these characters. I see you mashed up like. You've mashed up other characters from the X-Men and put them into one or two characters here. It's like, you think we're stupid? You think we've never seen this? It's like Alexandra Bracken fell asleep on a 90s X-Men cartoon, woke up and was like, oh, I have an idea. What if we had a group of kids with powers who fought against the government, and one of them was really, really powerful and was afraid to use her powers, even though we see her use her powers under control every time she needs to escape, but she keeps saying she's afraid of using her power, even though it doesn't make sense. Let's do that. Like, I don't think that's ever been done before. Anyway, folks, I am going to be trying to do more reviews on this. We have a lot of stuff coming out. I think we have the Meg coming out next week. And if you want to hear some other reviews we do, make sure you subscribe to Movie Trailer Reviews Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music. Got a lot of stuff coming out there. And if you want to hear us talk about the X-Men, subscribe to the Super Tuesday Recap and listen to our mailbag episodes. Because that literally has become our unofficial X-Men podcast where me and Deepom just literally talk about the X-Men all the time. So, folks, thank you guys very much for listening and watching. Yeah, I mean, you can go waste your money on this movie if you want to, but I told you so. I told you this movie was not going to be good because it's not fucking good. So, anyway, folks, until next time, peace.